conversation. And I'm really looking forward to our next guest. It's an honor to have Bong Gumahad joining us. Long history of service to America and in some very important roles, a national security expert. And Bong, it's great to have you here. I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, David. I'm assuming you can hear me okay.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. 5x5. It's great to have you here. And, I thought maybe we would start by helping people understand a little bit about you,
Sure.
your history, et cetera. Maybe share a little bit about your work. And then we want to talk about public safety for our military and sort of the new, if you will, public safety technologies and capabilities, et cetera, that we need to protect our men and women in uniform.
And
if you would, a little bit about yourself first, sir.
No, absolutely. First off, I just want to say that in keeping with this fireside chat theme we have here, I got logs fired up on the side here, David. I got my coffee in hand here, so I'm ready to go. But yes, I recently retired from government service for the second time, actually. I'm a retired...
Great at retiring.
I like the idea of retiring, yes. No, I retired from the U.S. Air Force several years ago and went back to government as a member of the senior executive service over at OSD at the Pentagon, and retired from there about 6 months ago. My background is mostly in developmental engineering. I spent 20 years of my Air Force career at the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, involved with developing, operating, space systems for our national security enterprise. I was in the industry for a little bit of time, and then about 7 years ago, maybe going on 8 now, kind of went back and joined the civilian side of the Pentagon as a member of the senior executive service, where I was the director for C4ISR. I know it's a long acronym. C4ISR within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment. So kind of focus on acquisition, portfolio management of C4 systems. Half of my job entailed working with the intelligence community and providing an oversight function in the major systems acquisitions that they were managing. So worked with NRO, NSA, DIA, NGA, and other programs in the intelligence space, if you will. And really, I'm just doing some work on the side, some consulting work to keep myself busy. And then half of the other time, I try to play golf.
Gotcha. Well, I have great faith people want to keep you busy. They'd like to take advantage of your wisdom and your experience. And I don't think you're going to do a very good job in retirement. Maybe good at playing golf a little bit, but you're always in high demand.
Golf, not even that. Yeah.
Yep. So your background is fascinating to me because it's like the perfect storm. You've got the the Air Force experience, you've got the civilian side, you've got working on acquisitions, et cetera, in the government. You've seen it all, right? And so you probably have a better picture of the entire system than most people do, even though if they may have spent many, many years in defense, et cetera. You have this broad sort of Renaissance experience. So I know there are a number of things that you're passionate about, you have interest in, but one of the things we wanted to talk about was interested about your view, the DOD's view, or their strategy, et cetera, on digital modernization, for one thing, just broadly, and in particular as relates to public safety, in the wake of Fort Hood and all these sorts of things, et cetera. I would love for you to expand on that a little bit.
So as you mentioned, so while I was privy to the inner workings of the Pentagon this past 7 years, it's been 6 months. So what I offer here today are my personal opinion, if you will, and take on what's going on. 6 months is a long time at the Pentagon, so maybe not a lot of things have changed, but you never know, right? But let me start by saying that that past 7 years, I've really had the privilege and honor of working with the best people around, in my civilian capacity, and I can tell your audience today, happy to report that the dedication and commitment of our leadership in DOD to modernizing the joint force remains strong. And their focus on getting a job done has been remarkable. And it's been awe-inspiring to me, with the men and women of the department continuing to deliver positive results every day, despite the challenges of the past couple of years with COVID. We heard some discussions about that in the previous talk. And in a way, when you look at what happened with COVID, really allowed us to be more innovative and flexible in how we can get things done. And it's truly showed the resiliency of this joint force. And I think this idea of resiliency is relevant to what we're going to be talking about here with public safety communications. Now, going back to your early comment about the department's digital modernization strategy, I think it remains a top priority within the DoD, especially in the framework of the Joint All-Domain Command and Control, JADC2, which I'm sure you've heard about. And for those who may not be familiar, JADC2 is the department's evolving warfighting concept to enable the joint force to have access to information across all sensor types, across all domains via a robust and resilient network environment. I kind of liken it in a way to the IoT, right? The Internet of Things you've heard about, the idea of connecting devices to create, smart consumers at home, smart cities with driverless vehicles and the like. And I think with the current always the leadership we have in place, the DoD is making good progress with carrying on with implementing the strategy for modernization. The strategy provides a joint force with, I think, a competitive advantage in a modern battle space. We talked about advanced adversaries like China with advanced capabilities. And I think the idea to increase U.S. technological capabilities across the DoD by totally embracing the digital domain is spot on. And this includes things like, a common cloud for the services with the Joint Warfighting Cloud, the JWCC, includes interoperability of our weapon systems through, data link standardization as an example, and even includes the use of digital engineering, I think, in my opinion, in the development of our weapon systems and the production and the operations of these systems. So yeah, I think the department remains committed to achieving its goals around digital modernization. But you always have people out there, asking, I guess, what is an obvious question of can we actually accelerate modernization? And I think, sure, we can, but I think it requires some additional help, not only from other groups within the executive branch, but certainly we need to bring in Congress, the legislative branch, to step in as well. And also, let me include industry as well. I think they can help with accelerating the course of modernization.
Okay. So this idea of speeding up innovation in the DoD, especially around the digital modernization space, there are some people that complain sort of maybe that the rules of engagement, how we have to do things because we need such security and we need such strong reliability, failure not being an option, right? Quality. So sometimes speed can be lost in terms of innovation because we have to be thorough and careful, and we have to make sure that everything is secure, right? Is it harder inside the DoD to modernize or to innovate than it is in the outside in the commercial world? I think there's a unique set of challenges that you see in the DoD, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you often hear, hey, best commercial practices and so on. And I think a lot of those might apply to a lot of the things that we do within the DoD.
We can hear you now. I apologize. There was a little glitch.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we good to go?
We got you now. We're good to go. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that you hear a lot about employing commercial best practices within DoD, and I think there's a limit to doing that inside the building. Of course, the Pentagon is the business of war fighting. It's a little different business model, if you will. But I think they're making all efforts to date to try to use the best that's possible out there with commercial best practices. And as a follow-on to the modernization strategy that was released back in 2019, the DoD also released a year later in 2020 the C3, the Command and Control Modernization Strategy, to address kind of that element, that portion of the DoD digital modernization strategy, which is looking at the vision for implementing the C3 portion of it, again, to bridge the gap between a lot of what we have today with legacy systems, with communications command and control, to the idea with the joint all domain, the framework of JADC2. And if you look at the C3 modernization strategy, the objective there is to establish and implement a DoD public safety comms ecosystems, as we've kind of started to talk about. Commanders and leaders require reliable and available emergency response capabilities, right, to conduct, safety of life, safety of flight, and the preservation of property within each of the thousands of DoD installations, facilities, and training areas, as well as assigned areas of operations we have globally. So DoD needs to integrate not only with national mission partners, but our international public safety partners as well, to really fulfill the goal. And the department recently published DoD Directive 8422, not to be bureaucratic here, but we always start with a directive to get things going, detailing a governance structure and assigning organizational responsibility for the conduct of creating an effective public safety communications infrastructure. So I think this is a good start. We always start with this directive, like I said. Now I think everybody's aligned with what to do. And now I think all we have to do, I'll kind of say it in simplistic terms, now we just have to take the action and make it happen.
You touched on a couple things. You touched on what Congress can do. I'd like you to touch on that again, et cetera, how we can fully support this directive. And people who quibble about directives or whatever, every corporation has a strategy, and their leadership tells commercial organizations, here's our strategy, here's our focus, see, these are things we're going to focus on. So I don't think that's any different, right?
Right.
So with that being true, then you have, like you said, you have to get on with it. How do you implement, and how do you implement as quickly as possible in a unique environment where your job is to break things and kill people, right? That's what, to fight wars, right? Where secrecy is important, all of that. Okay. So how can, though, you touch on Congress, how can Congress help with regard to this modernization and some of the solutions? Because I think you've been involved in some interesting possible solutions to improve public safety, and you might expand on those.
Yeah.
And also Congress's role.
I think in Congress can help in two ways. Firstly, I think they need to communicate to the department that modernizing public safety comms is a priority for Congress. And I think secondly, they need to strongly articulate their support by providing fiscal guidance and a commitment to fund upgrades within DoD. They should go out and ask the status from DoD. How are you doing with your C3 modernization plan? And more specifically, what's going on with public safety communications? I think they have to be an interested party in all of this, and they have to demonstrate that by taking some positive actions around that.
So would it be helpful if we helped organize an event where we bring those stakeholders together and you speak to them? I think we need to make that happen.
I think that's one way of doing it. I think there's enough interest out there from the commercial side to make that happen. An example, David, is kind of this transition to NG 911, this next generation 911, which is an IP-based system to replace a lot of the aging analog-based systems that we have today. And when I say we, I'm talking about the state.
America. Yeah.
America, right. And I know a number of states have been making progress towards that. And the DoD needs to keep pace with that, I think, for one. And I think the other thing that the DoD should perhaps take leadership in is to embrace the use of modern technologies, right? Yeah, we'll transition to NG 911, but we have maybe some potential opportunities with 5G, with IoT, and create an environment or an infrastructure where we can take advantage of all that to improve public safety communications. A lot of these technologies are available today, and I think the DoD should be a leader in demonstrating the utility of these capabilities to ensure the safety and well-being of all our personnel, as well as our facilities and operational locations across the globe. So yeah, I would advocate that for sure. Get Congress involved, and then let's do some tech demos around some of these technologies to demonstrate what can be done today.
Well said. We've got about 5-6 seconds left, and I just want to say thank you. But I also understand that Comtech, our sponsor, has some solutions around this this issue, the next gen 9/11 thing. So we should have you come back and talk about that a little bit.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm familiar with what the Comtech folks are doing, and I believe they have a path forward. I think a good solution for a demonstration capability that I think can be done today.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. We look forward to having you back. Thanks for your service to our nation in so many capacities, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Likewise.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.